Well, Heather, thank you so much, and thank all of you for being here on a Friday night after what I'm sure was a very long week. You have met Heather, you've seen our daughter Riley and daughter Alejandra. Daughter Moya is back here with her mother Stephanie, so wave you two in the back. So thank you. I would like to list our sponsors tonight because I think it's very important to recognize the folks who have pitched in to help, to be here, and to support this effort. So let me name them, and it's a long list, which is a great thing to have. Victoria Aguilar, and just raise your hand when we call your name. Polly Baca, Veronica Varela, Patricia Barrero Rivera, Chris Bray, Ken Carter, Jim Chavez, Gil Cisneros, James Cisneros, the Honorable Fran Coleman, Lori Damian, Jerome De Carrera, Stephanie Garcia, Sonny Lastrea, Jim Martinez, Cis Mascarenas, Keith Montoya, Frank Moya, Jerry Natividad, Nick Oliva, John Olmedo, Cindy Pena, Mike Perez, there he is, can't miss Mike, Jim Pinto, Ed Romero, Joe Salazar, Alex Sanchez, Diego Cedillo, Tommy Ray Sena, Agnes Talamantes, Doña Inés of Arriba Mi Negocio, thank you, Ralph Torres, and of course Debbie Trujillo. So thank you all very much for your help. You know, it takes everyone's input into this to make this kind of thing happen. I recognize my immediate family, and I know that my parents are on the way. So my father, who served our country as a veteran, a Marine veteran in the Korean War, and who was a high school teacher for 37 years at West High School. My mother, who had a daycare home in our house in Park Hill, where we all grew up, but who also, at the age when my daughters, similar to my daughters, she spent her after schools and she spent her summers picking beets in the fields of northern Colorado. Not the kind of job that creates extra money for a family, but the kind of job that means you get to eat as a family. And so my parents met, both the first in their families, the only ones in their families to go to college, to make it to college at the University of Northern Colorado. And one generation later, only one generation, they made sure that all 13 of their children made it to college. And that's a story. And so I believe that I carry that responsibility to make sure that we create, as a community, the kinds of opportunities for my children, for our children, the same kind of opportunities that my parents created for me. So thank you for supporting our efforts in education and supporting our efforts around children. Now, as mayor, I want to make sure that your efforts as small business people, as community leaders, get supported. I want to make sure that we clear the obstacles that you face in city government, and that the small business loan program that has really been idle, or too idle for the last several years, gets reinvigorated, that we bring it back to the benefit of small business.
You're here.
That we need to make sure that we're working with the banking community to help mitigate their risk, and at the same time showing them and helping them make an investment in you and making an investment in job creation in our city. We also need to make sure that we bring those banks together and say, how do we best do this? If the capital flow isn't happening, come together and show us how we can make it an easier environment for you to reach a small business in Denver. And finally, I think this leadership in spending and rewarding the businesses that care to locate in Denver needs to start with city government. And the mayor's office needs to show leadership in where we spend our dollars. Now, as small businesses in Denver, you may not know that when you write your check your occupational privilege tax, for the privilege of working in Denver, that you send that check to Texas, and that work is processed in Texas, and then they send us some of that money back. All the job creation in that contract is happening down in Texas and not here at home. And it's my contention that when we pool our resources as taxpayers, when we spend our money and our dollars, we need to be spending that money right here at home.
That's right.
When we have contracts as a city, we need to go out and look at businesses that are located in Denver and that extra consideration for being in Denver. I want to make that happen as mayor. And, you know, it's been a tough couple of years, I think, for the small business community here in town. And you've had a lot of difficult decisions, whether it's buying equipment or hiring people, whether it's cutting or expanding, whether it's that investment or just making budgets meet. Well, in the city budget, we're going to face those same kinds of constraints. We have a $100 million budget gap from this year. We're going to have another one next year, and we're still facing cuts from the federal and state governments that the city is going to feel. We need a steady hand at the wheel, and what I submit to all of you is that the last time we were in this kind of situation, I was managing the Department of Parks and Recreation with 2 successive years of 10% budget cuts, 30% less water usage in drought years, and we still managed to expand our system by 25%. That's what we can do, and that's what we need to do throughout the entire city to make this budget work. But it's the entrepreneurial spirit and the pioneering spirit that all of you as business leaders and community leaders bring to the city to make it work. And in 1869, when we started this city, and when things started to develop for us, when the Transcontinental Railroad bypassed Denver and instead connected through Cheyenne, Wyoming, which should have been the death knell for the place called Denver. But instead, it was only our start. It was the start of our city to show our spirit that said, we are not going to be bypassed. And instead, the Board of Trade said, we're going to connect Denver to Cheyenne with our own railroad. We're going to build it ourselves and connect Denver to Cheyenne and thus the rest of the country. That's the entrepreneurial spirit that you all bring to the table. That's the entrepreneurial spirit that makes up Denver. And what I'm asking you today is to bring that spirit to reinvigorate our city. Help me invest in the city of Denver and help me become the next mayor of Denver. Thank you very much.